Hello and welcome back to the Radio Gamescast. As always, I'm your host Ryan. I'm joined today by my lovely cohort of co-hosts Wyatt,
Hello.
Alex,
He's back.
and Brett.
He is.
It's already happening where as soon as I hit the start stream button, Discord decides it's a good time to stutter a little bit. So
No.
we're fine. We'll roll with it. We're talking about Games Pass games this week. I mean, we got a bunch of Game Pass games that we've been playing for the last month. We want to talk about them. Played some games. Is everyone on board with talking about games?
No.
We don't have a choice.
Wait, this is a gaming podcast?
Too bad.
Boy,
I
have
thought
I
this
got
was-
news for you.
I thought this was strictly Star Wars. I'm very ashamed to be
Yeah,
here.
only Star Wars and Mass Effect, nothing else whatsoever. We've never done anything else on the show.
Halo is banned from discussion.
Yeah,
Thank
Halo's
God.
been banned. So yeah, we're gonna talk about these Game Pass games. We're gonna do the thing where once you finish talking about your game, you say the next game you want us to play, so we know immediately whose it is. After that, we might. I don't know how long these discussions are gonna last. If they're gonna last a full podcast length. If they don't, we're finally gonna talk about the Assassin's Creed.
Wow.
It's here. If not, we won't. So
I can't tell whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, or you're only waiting to talk about Assassin's Creed stuff when I'm here.
It's the last one.
It's your thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about Assassin's Creed without our Assassin's Creed rep here.
Oh,
You know,
God.
it's
We have to have someone to
important-
defend it.
I don't know how I feel about being the Assassin's Creed rep here, to be honest.
I think by
Well,
rep
it's
we
not
mean
your
you and I
choice.
are the only two people that play them.
Yes.
I have played Odyssey. It's a good RPG. It's not a good assassin game.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about some Game Pass games. Who wants to go first? Who wants to take a stab with their Game Pass game? Right, that's me. So
Oh,
Cool.
I was about to say, it's funny you mentioned stab, because almost all of these games, you stab people.
you do have stabby weapons in all of these games, I think. My game, we talked about briefly last time, and now we're talking about the second one. It's Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2. I forced all of these people to play more Ninja Gaiden.
it certainly is.
Because you're an
However-
asshole.
Yeah,
I think there's a however here. I think Team Ninja's made an actual video game this time instead of a horrible,
I will admit,
unethical thought experiment
Hey,
that was Ninja Gaiden. Sigma
Alex and I
will
played
admit-
through the vast majority of Ninja Gaiden.
I'm
I
still
know
trying to
you
get
did.
through Ninja Gaiden 1 because
Yep.
I, for
I-
some reason, enjoy it, but it keeps coming. It keeps me coming back.
I will admit, I had a lot more fun with this one. than
You
I
can
did the
really
first
tell the generational leap that happened
Yes,
with
Oh,
this game.
definitely.
For sure. I think Ninja Gaiden 2 really is from that era. This is like the jump between Devil May Cry 2 to 3. It's huge. It's a big jump. 2 feels very bad and not good. 3 feels
Mhm.
very good and still feels very good. Probably better than Ninja Gaiden. most degrees, but I think it's that comparison of quality jump.
One thing I still can't get my head wrapped around is this might be a personal thing because I know you sometimes go about changing collectibles throughout game iterations. I don't like the design of the crystal skulls that you collect in 2 Sigma compared to the Scarab Beetles in 1.
I like the Golden Scarabs were thematic for like an ancient city. So this is another confusion point for people that haven't played Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden is an action, character action game. It's like Bayonetta, like Devil May Cry, that style of game. It's Team Ninja, who also makes Nioh and is making Wo Long, aka they make very difficult games. Particularly Itagaki, who was the original director on these games. Sigma, specifically, he was not here for the release of Sigma 2, I believe. It was handled by a different person, not different team, but different people that didn't share his philosophy of brutalism. So it's a little bit less punishing, and there's a mode added in it
Oh.
where you get some... It still is fun to play, but you get like auto-blocking and a few other things that make it very hard to lose.
Oh, weird.
So it's not quite a super easy mode, but it is sort of a we're not going to let you lose mode.
Hard to lose until you get to the part where I am at, but we'll get to that one.
We'll get to that in a moment.
I have
Yeah.
I have a question. This was like the first note that I wrote down was just visible confusion because I did not know that Ninja Gaiden was in like a futuristic setting.
So
that
because you died at the horse.
See, no.
Last
see, you
game
would have
was
known
also
that.
the same.
Okay.
You would have known that if you got to the airship level.
All right.
Which is the second level.
You were maybe 10 minutes away from finding that out.
It was that confusion mixed with the where the heck did this statue thing come from? And there's just a lot of confusion.
That is like just kind of there. That is literally just kind of there.
What is this thing?
Well, it's because if you get deeper into Ninja Gaiden 1, you learn that the fiends are trying to resurrect things that fight for them. They're like big old demon things. So I figured something similar is happening here.
I was like, wow, this is like Ninja
I thought that statue was
with the like
robotic.
It probably is. I think that's the idea,
Man.
though, is that the fiend people are using it as a distraction. That's kind of the running thread between these games. Really, nothing here is following up from Ninja Gaiden 1 that I can find. I don't think any of this is a follow-up.
Not a thing.
I don't know if in Ninja Gaiden 1 there is ever mention of it being the real world. Because in this game,
I don't think so.
The CIA is involved.
Yes. Yeah, there's CIA. There's the CIA. The second level, once again, that you go to is New York City in Times Square.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I don't know if there's some because I've played the majority of Ninja Gaiden 1. I'm on level 19 out of 21.
Understand you.
To my understanding of that game, it is set in its own thing. There's your own kingdoms going around and whatnot, your own empire.
Yeah.
I guess it's just the real world now.
They might have just said screw it. I don't know.
I don't know that anything
that way,
in
though.
1 is incompatible with that idea, but it is very strange to just go from wacky dark...
I mean, it could be alternate history real world.
I think that's what they're going for, except it's Dark Disciple.
Yeah.
All the Dark Disciple stuff then moving into, hey, it's the CIA now.
Yeah.
Is very funny.
The first time they mentioned that woman was from the CIA, I was like, I'm sorry, what? What's going on?
Don't you know that that's a CIA regulated outfit? Why?
I was about to say, she's not following the dress code.
Don't even get me started. It was so stupid.
Why, you need to look up an image of Rachel from the first game, because I know you did not.
Yeah, that's certainly not regulated.
Hold on. I will do this.
It's certified demon hunter hours.
My gut says Sonya is probably also a dead or alive character. In fact, I can just look this up. We have the technology.
Probably.
Because to my understanding, a lot of I think Ayane from the first game is also a dead or alive character.
Yeah, Ayane.
So,
yeah.
Oh
it's hard to know for certain without having played a lot of the Dead or Alive games, or any of them. Now that I say that, whether or not she is a Dead or Alive character first, or
funnily enough, the beach
first.
Volleyball proportions are not exaggerated for these characters.
Yeah, it's very strange. Let's find out. Let's go on our wiki page. It looks like she was in the first Dead or Alive.
There you go.
But she was also, before that, the female lead of the NES Ninja Gaiden. So, weird history here. Very strange. I just think it's a weird tangent, but man, the character designs of this game are something.
Really wacky.
Not even in a bad or a good way. I think it's just, man, Ryu's bulge is insane.
Between the two games, he got an upgrade.
They bumped to HD where they did in some favors.
So I have to say,
you're gonna be staring at this man's
his spandex, not spandex, his
whatever that is.
His tight leather getup, doesn't feel as shiny in the second game as it does in the first.
We got more definition, so it's a little.
I don't feel like I can hear the.
It's the kind of hard-hitting criticism you
when he walks to my mind anymore.
Hey, equal opportunity fan service. I am always down for that.
Of course.
My favorite question to ask of game characters: how many polys for the Grundle?
Boy, it's nice to know that Bayonetta is not the only one who really likes to show off a little bit while they're slaying demons.
It's at the point where, like, if you don't have, like, your main character of your character action game be, like, that level of weird, what you're doing it wrong. You're doing it at least a little bit wrong. Like, they have
the
to have...
thing about this is, like, Ryu has no personality, at least from the first.
His personality is stored in his ass, okay? He can't let it out.
Bayonetta's got character. Ryu is just there. He's there to slay things. Also, finding out that his father's name was Joe really killed me. So, yeah, I think it's just a super interesting game from a perspective of, like, the jump between 1 to 2. I think 1 realized it kept most of the crazy stuff for level 2, so people stopped playing if they didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
2 was just like, we're gonna put all the crazy stuff immediately. So we hook people to keep playing.
In some of those cutscenes, you can't help but get lost in Ryu's eyes,
which he keeps very widely open at all times.
I mean, who wouldn't? I do think. Oh, Wyatt, go ahead.
Speaking of, like, character design or, like, villain design, I loved the wolves or dogs with, like, the samurai swords. I thought that was really
I hated having to kill them.
I hate the sound they make.
They make sad dog.wev.
But, like,
they always do.
But, like, the design itself, it
of course,
made me chuckle.
Dogs.
I thought it was cool.
Of course, it's just enemy ninja dogs.
There were so many of them.
Very much along the same lines as the Sekiro, just plain old monkeys, but with katanas now for some reason. It feels very similar to that.
The interesting thing here, you start with the majority of your moves from the first game unlocked.
Yeah.
I haven't noticed. I don't know if there's a point where you lose some of them, but a lot of the things that are
as well too.
Yeah, a lot of the things that are unlocks in the first game you get very quickly in this game, which is odd. I was expecting, like, some logic reason for a power reset. For the most part, it seems like they're like, no, here's your stuff. And this time there's an actual move list that's a lot easier to access.
Yeah.
God.
Notably, for everyone talking about it, there is a move list, I believe, in the Ninja Gaiden manual for Ninja Gaiden. But because we played this on Game Pass, we don't have that. So
Yeah.
It's a lot harder when someone tells me to do the Blade of Nerdy combo. I'm like, what? Whereas in this one, I know it's XYXXX, you know?
I'm glad they finally discovered the technology for something like a...
You also get the new weapon. You get the claws, too, which I don't really like as much. Oh.
Yeah, I like them, but
I still prefer the sword.
You don't have most of your stuff unlocked on the claws. The claws have a much more restricted moveset until you upgrade them.
I really like the looter staff. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it looked cool.
Yeah.
It looked really cool.
You get that in the first game too, and it's really fun there too.
That and the Vigurian flail. I love stun locking enemies.
The amount of tools that they give you from the beginning, and they're just like, yeah, I mean, here's how you do it. There's like 5 guys to figure it out on. That's good. It's good for a first level of a game, and it felt awesome because it's just like, it didn't feel like the enemies were any less annoying than they were last time. It's just now you have more to do against them from the start.
Yeah.
Which felt very satisfying. It was a little bit difficult to get the hang of it first, but I was like, oh, I could do this and this and this. And if I just keep doing the jump attack over and over again, I literally just Goomba stomp everybody. And then he dropped the big orange ball, so then I do the charge attack that you can do. And chain them over and over again, and I just mash every button on the controller.
The ultimate attacks look so much better in this game. They look good in Ninja Gaiden 1. They look incredible in Ninja Gaiden 2. You really feel like you're using a strong attack when you pull out an ultimate technique.
The dismemberment techniques? That's fun.
Yeah. Excuse you, obliteration technique?
Yeah, obliteration.
There's something to be said for finishers like that are like short and sweet, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like what comes to mind is like God of War or like Spider-Man PS4, where like you have these finishers, they look really cool. They like camera zooms in and they like slow down and all this cool stuff, but like it goes on for a little too long sometimes. You're like, all right, let's get back to it here. But there's something about here where it's like quick and it's snappy and it's really satisfying, and it doesn't really break the flow of combat all that much. That's why I like the what are they called in Doom?
Glory kills.
The glory kills.
Glory kills are satisfying because they're like quick and they're snappy, and then you just get right back to it.
Yeah, because otherwise you run into...
This is one of the earlier games to have a system like that as well. This game's from 2008, the original version of Ninja Gaiden 2. I don't know if any actual systems or game mechanics are different here outside of like balance changes. But this is a impressive system for a 2008 game because it looks good. You've got some really good snappy animations, and they don't feel janky. You don't get the problem you get in a lot of modern games where the paired animations don't line up and will like glitch to make someone look like they're in between something. Here, it's very quick, snappy, and you cut someone's head off. So that's what you like to see.
Very contextual too, like different areas, like depending if you're like near a wall, you like a wall run for a step and like cut
Yeah.
their head off or whatever.
If you're behind
It's
an enemy,
very
you like
cool.
kick their legs down and then put them on their knees. It's great. It's really, really
So
fun.
It's one of those games where it's really easy, even if you're not very good at the game, it's really easy to make you look cool.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is always good.
Which is
way more
the best
so
thing
than
you
the
can
first
ask
game.
for.
Yeah. The first game, if you're not good at it, it is like very visually obvious. And you look like you're just kind of flailing there helplessly, but in this game it's like, hey, even if you're terrible, you're still gonna look cool being terrible.
Yeah.
So
I think it is it feels really good to play moment to moment, even better than I think the first game does. I am curious to see with this one, because so far it's not as difficult as the first game. I don't necessarily think I want it to be as difficult as the first game.
I don't.
So
it made it not fun. The first game just
absolutely
wasn't fun because it was
hey, again,
much.
I'm almost done with it and I've had a lot of fun with it. So it depends on the person, but
right, of course.
I think this feels more like a character action game, whereas Ninja Gaiden 1 almost ends up feeling more like a late
Strategy.
90s arcade style game that you have to just get good at in order to beat.
Yeah.
I will say this, I think the camera is better. I still don't think it's like
It's still
approaching ideal. I still don't think it's very good.
With the camera, I still got stuck
Welcome
in
to the mid 2000s.
One of the things in the Hayabusa village, you don't go through the same building you do, or you don't go through the first room. You just go off to the side into the courtyard in the back. So there's not an opportunity to get stuck on the pillars on the inside. However, the camera still got stuck on the pillars when I was going through the walkway for it.
It still obscures enemies almost like it's conspiring against you. I was oftentimes like, if I was kind of farther away from the camera, if I was like really far away from the camera, there'd be a bunch of enemies and then I can't see my character or what I'm doing because I'm just surrounded by people and I can't see anything. It does this really annoying thing where you can tilt up to make the camera look up, but then it just snaps back down. So it's like, why even give me the option if you're just gonna snap the camera back down at an angle that I don't want it at? It's just so awkward.
I had more luck literally never touching the camera ever and just leaving it to the automatic angles that it gives you, which still isn't ideal, but I think that's probably what they intended for you to do because the camera just does not feel good to move around, period.
Yeah,
how
it's got
far
some rough.
did you guys get in Ninja Gaiden 2 in the game?
I got to the start of the New York level.
To the start of the New York level.
Yeah, because I spent a lot of time in the first level going to every corner.
What about you guys?
I got like mid Hayabusa village.
Same.
Because I did some exploring.
So crap. No one is able to just the very start of the New York level.
Yeah, not super far into it. Maybe like 10 minutes, but not far.
Okay, so you did get further than me. My issue that I've told Ryan about this before a little while. I've continued to try to troubleshoot it, completely uninstalling and reinstalling the game. I can't get out of Times Square.
Really?
The enemies do not spawn for me to kill to continue the level.
Huh.
I've tried it on different difficulty modes. I've tried resetting my progress. I've tried uninstalling and reinstalling the game. The enemies do not spawn for me in Times Square. The only things I can get to spawn are some of the bats in the corner alleyways. I can't get the main demons to spawn for me to fight.
Interesting.
That's bizarre. Very strange.
I did want to ask.
I really want to play more of that game.
I did want to ask you guys what you thought about the giant Buddha statue boss fight.
Haha, funny big boss. I'm gonna kill it.
That felt awesome.
I had zero issues the first time and then got beaten repeatedly with the second time when it has much more health. And I don't know what happened. I think I just forgot how to play the video game, to be honest.
The first time for me was this feels very standard boss. Not that it was bad, it just felt like I don't know. I'm one of those weird people where I'm not usually a fan of boss fights like that because you're just kind of waiting around a lot for like a window, and I just don't find that personally very interesting. And then what happened the second time is that like it was the exact same move set, except very rarely did it like lower its hand so you could actually attack it. So you're waiting around for like way too long before you can actually do any damage, and I got bored especially with the second time really quickly because it's just a lot of waiting.
Got bored dodging laser beams.
I did.
I was
I
gonna
don't
say
know
you're
how
not
a
just
game does
waiting.
that.
You're not
It's
just
weird.
waiting
Yeah, you
around.
Flight is just very strange and doesn't like boss
Yeah.
fights typically.
Typically, yeah.
I will say it
it's
is far from my favorite Ninja Gaiden boss that I've done. I didn't hate it, but it did feel less imaginative.
And to be clear, I didn't hate it either. I
First
just
boss.
thought it was just kind of
Yeah.
like okay.
I think it's a good opening. It's a good set piece because it has the big
Yeah, it's a great conceptually.
scale.
It's a great like opening like boss fight. Definitely,
My favorite Ninja Gaiden boss is the helicopter.
I think what kind of
In
ruined
one.
it for me is I didn't like the camera angle very much. Again, the camera is kind of an issue. It was like almost like tilted up too much. It was kind of hard to see like where the it's like beam attacks were going sometimes. I don't know. It just felt off.
Well, they go in a straight line. I do get what you're saying because the camera isn't low enough for you to see the ground where the effects are some of the time. So if you're not at the right
focused on
angle,
on the
it is hard to see.
monster. It's focused on the boss itself, which makes sense in theory, but with the kind of attacks it's doing, I just didn't really feel like it was conducive to like the best camera angle for the mechanics.
Yeah, I get what you're saying with this one. I did. Yeah, this boss it felt very opening of the game to me.
Ooh, there's also auto targeting with the bow is easier now.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Aiming the ranged weapons in Ninja Gaiden 1 is my least favorite
Terrible.
part of that game. To a significant degree. The platforming still feels good.
Mhm.
To me. Especially this time, it feels a little bit more responsive just because of the way the animations snap together. It feels very good.
I didn't struggle with it like I did with the first game. Like I
think the camera here is just improved enough to not make you hate it during platforming.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I'll also say that checkpoints were far more reasonable than
So
they were.
much
Oh,
easier.
yeah.
That's a
lot
Sigma
more.
thing for sure. I think that was the Sigma editions added a lot of checkpointing
Thank
so that you don't get as
God.
frustrated.
And also the shop theme, like that bass guitar slapped
It goes hard.
so hard.
Yeah.
Dude, it was awesome. Like the first time I got into the shop, I just sat there for a minute. I was just like, yeah.
Gotta have a good shop theme. So
You gotta, not a headbang, but like a head
This-
shake. You're like,
I thought
yeah.
it was kind of strange how they separated blacksmith from just shop things.
I
thought
think
it was
that what
fun.
they wanted to avoid was the Ninja Gaiden 1 situation where you could run out of money because you needed to buy healing items, and then your weapons were underdone.
Right. And then they also limited the amount of times you could upgrade a weapon because you could only upgrade one per shop encounter. I think it was.
Yeah, I have a feeling the way this is going to end up working is you can reliably upgrade 1 to 2 weapons on main path. You can probably get all of them if you go off of main path and do side stuff. That'd be my assumption. I don't know for sure because I'm not that far into the game, but I wouldn't be too worried about it. Barring
What
some
do you think of the
strange-
UI this time? And the menus.
It was fine. I don't think
I think it's
found
more
them
readable.
confusing in the last game.
This feels like it actually has a theme to it now, rather than
It
just...
definitely has more of a theme, but I thought personally I felt like the menu UI was a little bit too busy for me.
I see what you're saying. It was very like busy is a good way to describe it. I don't know if it was like
Not unreadable, but there's a lot of background noise.
It's a very Xbox 360, PS3 era
Yes.
menu design. There's a lot of graphics there and not a lot of text that is in a
information.
legible font.
Yeah. As a YouTuber Thor High Heels who loves this generation would describe it as, it would be sophistifuture because that is what many of the
Mhm.
360 and PS3 menus look like. They just have that weird look to them.
Yeah.
I
It's,
I also thought it was funny how you can find notes throughout the game that are just like, I can't do the move. Oh, I'm a terrible ninja. Oh, I'm so bad at video games. Meanwhile, the move is just like walk up to a wall and press A, and that's it's really funny.
There's one that's like, I can't do the obliteration technique. All you got to do is walk up and press Y, my dude. Like,
it's the most very basic aspect of being a ninja. I see.
Some of them do actually hide useful information, because I think the one that is kind of useful is the block attack one, because that's a hard attack to know how to time. I think a lot of people will just mash the button to try to get it when they're blocking, but there is like a distinct moment where a weapon will flash and do like an air wave, and if you press it then, you will get it all the time.
It's so much more visible now, too.
Yeah. I just gave up on doing those most of the time in Ninja Gaiden 1, because I couldn't time them right on anything but the katana. So... yeah, it felt a lot more responsive this time. This game, I think, looks way better to like a degree that really surprised me, because I didn't think Ninja Gaiden 1 looked bad. But like the level design of the kind of like Tokyo cyber city, so cool.
Oh, that was so fun.
It's so fun to go through. I think it all like feels very modern, despite being a early, like pre-2010 game. So.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Any other thoughts on Ninja Gaiden?
Did the statue regain any of its health for you guys during the second boss fight? Was there a reason for that, or did it just kind of happen?
I remember.
I think what happened is if you knock it down with its head on the ground, that's your time to like finish it, and if for some reason you can't, it regains health and then won't do that a second time. I think that's what happened, because the same thing happened to me, but I was like on that thing, did every combo with max damage, and got it to like 1 point of health left, and then it filled back halfway up, and I was like,
"Jeez,
what happened?"
And it wasn't that it was hard. It's just I got bored and I wanted it to be over. So when I saw its health regain, I was like, no,
please don't.
You're strange, Wyatt.
There were a couple times too where like the hand was sliding away, and I'd like jump forward to attack it, and instead of like, he just kind of like, and he like wouldn't follow the hand very well, and I was like, no, go forward and hit the hand. He was just like, it was really frustrating. I was like, no, just hit the hand.
Just do the thing. All you got to do is hit the hand. It's not that hard.
Do not weep for really cheese, boy.
It was really funny.
Do not weep for the cheese.
I did love, and I'm sure this is intentional, but the dialogue was just so corny, and it was
I love that.
It was beautiful.
Yeah,
because there's like I don't know.
It is Ninja Gaiden dialogue.
Yes,
for sure.
I don't know the names of the voice actors off the top of my head, but like you could tell there's like actual like recognizable talent from other like stuff behind it. I think red business suit lady is Tara Strong. She sounded like Tara Strong.
I think she's either Tara Strong or Jennifer Hale, and I don't know which one.
Yes, but either way, like these people have been doing their job for a while and are known for a lot of things. They were told to do it this way, and I love that about things like that, because things that are at least voice acting that is like purposefully cheesy just works very well a lot of the time. For me, I think it works very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm a fan of a game that is self-aware.
Performance, yeah, it's good. But there is something.
Troy Baker's in this game too.
What?
I don't know.
We
shouldn't
be surprised by that. He's in everything, but you know.
Yeah, it's impressive. All right.
Yo, Hayabusa.
Is it worth mentioning that the underwater controls sucked? Is it even worth mentioning, or should we just move on?
Underwater?
I think they're
running on top of the water.
I just hope there's not an underwater level like there was last time.
No, that's right. You couldn't run on top of the water anymore, could you?
You can. You just gotta press the button. You have to spam the button now instead of.
That's right. You have to spam. God, I didn't like that. I didn't like that change.
It was satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it felt fine.
As long as your sprinting mechanic doesn't involve you tapping A every single time you want to sprint. Rockstar.
Yeah, Tara Strong is Rachel, Brett. So you missed Tara Strong in the last game. I don't know what's her name is. I'll find her, but stacked voice actors either way. All right, any last thoughts on Ninja Gaiden? Are we moving on? We good?
What's your game?
Great. I feel the Halloween spirit upon me, and I think the Halloween spirit this year means occult. We're going a little bit occult, and we're gonna play Weird West. I think it's an
Ooh,
appropriately Halloween-y game that is not straight horror, but maybe it's got a little bit of it mixed in.
That is not what I thought you were going to do. I thought you were going to do Metal Hellsinger.
I thought
was
you were
going
do
to
Paradise Killer.
But I was like, Paradise Killer, I realized the connection is tenuous when I think about Paradise Killer, because you don't really get to the horror elements until you're like 6 hours into that game. So it would just be us talking about dialogue for a little while and then going, we didn't really get to much. So I am going to make you all play Paradise Killer. It's either going to be before or after Ninja Gaiden 3, so get ready for that. Depends on how quickly I finish, too.
I already have Paradise Killer downloaded.
I've heard that even among Ninja Gaiden fans, no one likes 3 that much.
I've heard the same. So I'm excited to see us play a game that nobody likes. So yeah, you just play Weird West. I think that'll be a good time. They also just got a big patch that added a new aiming system. So people that hated the old aiming system, you got options now.
If we're moving on, I will take the reins.
Take them.
I guess you can do that.
Take it away.
Oh, you do? Oh, how kind of you.
I do suppose.
Take the reins, Shinji.
So my game was Moonlighter, which is Wyatt's another foray into Wyatt's weird obsession with pixel-based roguelites. I don't know why I keep picking them, but I do.
You're really going for them lately.
You really
I am. Listen, it's a new genre that I'm excited about, and that doesn't happen very often because I have the narrowest set of interests you've ever seen. So when something new comes in, it's exciting, and then I'm going to run it into the ground like I did with first-person shooters. Anyway.
Call that a hyperfixation.
Exactly. Anyway, so this is Moonlighter. Is part like dungeon crawling roguelike, part shop management, and part city builder. I love these kind of games where like we're going to take a little bit from this genre, we're going to take a little bit from this genre, and we're just going to smash them together. We're just
They work really well together too.
Then, especially if everything works well together. Oh, for some reason I have a weird obsession with that sort of thing. Like I thought that Divinity Dragon Commander was really interesting because that is one of the most bizarre grab bag of like mechanics you've ever seen. It's like RTS dragon combat game risk with like political decision nuts. But Moonlighter, yeah, it's got all these interesting aspects to it. The loop is basically you run into this dungeon, you grab as many things that aren't bolted down to the floor as you possibly can, you fight your way through enemies and different floors and stuff. And if you die, you lose all your stuff and you go back to your little shop. Or if you get out before then, you get to take all these items with you and then you get to sell them at your shop. And you have to find the right price for things. You have to make sure that you don't overflood the market with something, and then values in theory change, but we'll get back to that in a minute. And then you can spend that money on getting new shops in your town, so you can get more like health potions, you can get like armor and weapons and all this stuff, or you can upgrade your item shop. And it's just this great little gameplay loop. This little economy gameplay loop you've got going on. And I just wanted to say this right off the bat. This game looks gorgeous. I love this pixel art style so much.
It has some of the best like animated pixel art of anything.
It's so fluid. It's just
very flowy.
It's beautiful.
Fluid. Seeing those turret golems shoot the water is very satisfying.
Even just like the little like in the loading screen, that little loading animation in the lower right is just so satisfying to watch. It's got so much like bounciness to it. It's just looks wonderful.
I do think that whoever was in charge of art on this game, fantastic job all around.
Very good job. Yeah.
Looks great. Feels great to match the motion that they have. I feel like a lot of pixel art games have that issue of they lack the kind of fluid motion. You get very staticky, jumpy motion instead. This is like it matches the Shovel Knight bounciness to me. Yeah. There's a high praise to give.
Yeah. I think overall, I mean, I thought I I've played this game before. I played it on my Switch, and I just wanted to introduce it to you guys. But if there's any criticism that could be lobbed at the game, it's that it has these different like genres kind of built into its gameplay loop, but a lot of them aren't nearly as fleshed out as they could be. And I
Not
think,
fully realized.
yeah,
for sure.
that's the biggest problem, because what I had mentioned earlier is that in theory, prices fluctuate with an item if you're like over flooding the market with it, right? And so the demand goes down, so you have to adjust your prices. In the time that I've played this game, both before this episode and for this episode, that has never happened.
Same here.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
It happened
And
for
I have
me.
also
It happened
played
for
a
me.
lot of this game. Like I have played a ton of this game across both PC and Switch. So
There was a time when I sold, I think, 8 full stacks of the metal rods you get in the first dungeon. After that, the price went down for a couple days, and then it went back to normal.
And that's a lot of metal rods too. That's like an extreme amount of metal
Yeah.
rods.
Yeah.
that I
to my
feel like
knowledge,
most
it is not
people
like
will
an
bother
actual
with.
economy system, but it is set values that it jumps and rises between, which is, I think, the biggest downfall of this economy that the game has in the shop. If you don't look on the internet, you don't touch anything else, you're probably fine. If you haven't played a lot of games and you really are into like financial management for some reason, this is not going to meet your rise of I want to deal with financials, because it's not designed to be that complex. I don't think that's what this is going for at all.
Yeah, and I stand by the fact that it's still having and running your item shop still works really, really well with this gameplay loop, but it's not, if you're looking for like like Ryan said, if you're looking for an accomplished like shop management game, this is not.
One of the things,
Go play Reciteer.
One of the things that I was very happy about not seeing, as far as I've played so far, is that in a lot of shop management games that I've played that start to turn me off after it, because my play style differs from whichever one to whichever one, is that end of the month debt collector that comes in. And I have not encountered any of those in this game, and I like it, so I can just make money on my own time.
But I think the
to
game
keep the-
is missing something like that, though. Like
Yeah.
there's no fire under your ass to like really sell.
The reason those debt collectors exist is to take money out of the loop, so you have to make decisions carefully about what you want to spend money on. If there's no risk to spending money...
Well, I think with this, there is, at least how I was playing it, because one of my main problems with this game is I have very little self-worth. So I don't know how to properly price items. So it was insanely hard for me to find the right prices. So I did not get a lot of money for a very long time.
Did you just lowball everything?
Yeah. So
I mean, you adjust price after they have a reaction to it, and then you just find, like, it takes you a couple tries.
Today, I just finally got the first piece of armor after playing this for 5 days.
Oh no!
Or so total.
Oh my god!
I played for maybe an hour and got armor. Oh, Alex.
Were you doing like single digits to start?
No! Oh my god, no!
What I always do is I sell one of every item and then try to dial it down so I can nail it and then sell all of them at the right price.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed is, like, in the guidebook that you have where you can mark down all the different price reactions, there are price thresholds. Like, oh, okay, this is the 3,000 coin mark, and I see the Golem history book. I'm like, oh, I have 7 of those. So I go to sell one, like one at a time, not the other way. I put it at the 3,000. And all the shop and all of the customers that come in are insanely angry at me for that for some reason. When I put it at the price that it says it's okay to be at.
That is definitely not the right price for that book. That book is not worth that much. It might have been 300.
There were 3 zeros.
I mean, this is a situation...
Maybe it was 1,000 or 2,000, but...
This is a situation where you have to do the game designer move of, like, doubling and then having...
Yeah, you gotta actively go at it to figure out the prices. But then I think the big issue with this game to me is once you do figure out the prices, you're done with that item because nothing changes. And this is where I feel like that loop of having something to siphon money away from you against your will would have been a strong push to, like, okay, I need to prioritize getting these vendors up. I also don't like the idea of me as a shop opener funding the opening of another item shop.
Yeah, that felt
it was
bad. Why am I
I
doing
get all the others because they're different industries, but if I'm funding a competitor, you better give me a cut of the
Yeah.
profits, man.
It's
What,
a sign of good faith, you know.
what-
It's you know.
How many floors did you guys usually make it through?
I tend to go for
of
2
the
at once, just 'cause
dungeon.
my inventory will fill up.
Because
if you do
I
more than
could
2.
Yeah.
by now I could easily make it through the first one, but then it's just I couldn't even find the boss for the second one yet.
Yeah, I hit a point where I just won't risk it anymore. If I run out of potions, I'm going back because I'm not gonna risk the loss of everything to do, which I do think makes the roguelite loop feel good because there's just enough risk inherent in it that you have a strong incentive to go back at the right time rather than continuing all the time.
It's something in a roguelike game that I haven't come across where it's like, no, you can nope out, that's fine. And it's honestly like usually better for you if you
It's
can
just about
find the
knowing
right
your
times.
limits.
Oh, I also really like the inventory management bit where they have it's one of the things that could use a little more fleshing out, but I like the different restrictions and limitations and curses that can have on certain items. And also
that
the
was a lot of
ability
fun.
They do
and
get
also the
progressively
ability to just
crazier.
trash things in
They
the
get progressively
magnifying glass.
zanier the further you get into the game. Some of the later stuff is very fun because you have things that will like destroy every item around them when they're placed. So you have to like plan and then try to find an item that'll remove that curse so you can then use the rest of your inventory, and it actually becomes like a mini game in and of itself, which is fun.
Yeah,
Sometimes
it's
I feel
cool.
like those like destroy item curses, they're not even on a thing that's worth it. I'm just like, I've sold you for 10 gold.
But then
before.
occasionally, see, I got very lucky earlier today, and I got an item that I knew was worth like 1,500 gold, and it had the curse, the quote-unquote curse of the item that it's pointing to will turn into copies of this item when you leave the dungeon. So I just swapped it out for a stack of vines. And now I'm rich. Now I've broken the economy already, and this is where that debt thing comes in.
And the idea of like having your items, like if you flood the market with it, demand and prices have to come down and stuff, like that's a good way of like keeping you in that game of trying to find the right price for something. But I don't know who tuned that during development, but it's like it it, it needed more work because
some are just like
if 4 of
completely
us-
not worth it.
if the 4 of us who've been playing this for 2+ hours, Ryan and I have played it for much longer than that, haven't had that happen once. Like if they didn't even tell you that was a thing in the game, no one would know. No one would know about it.
Unless you're actively
Which-
trying to abuse it. Now,
It's
oh, go ahead, Brett.
it's I have to be a Debbie Downer. I have to get in my say somewhere because as someone who does not care for city builders, does not care for shop owner games, and also does not care about roguelikes, there was literally nothing in this game for me.
Wow.
And I was extremely bored because it doesn't do any of those things exceptionally. Like for like One Step from Eden or whatever, that was like super cool and unique gameplay. Like the gameplay loop there was like really just like demanded your attention at all times, and you're constantly pressing buttons and doing stuff. That's a video game. Okay. This game, I go to a dungeon, okay, randomly generated finds roguelike, nothing wrong with that. And I do like 1 degree lower than the combat of Link to the Past. And then I go out and I put the item on the table and I stand there for 5 minutes and they're gone. And I put them on the table and I stand there for 5 minutes and they're gone. It was not very intriguing for me. And I do think if there were more things working against you, like a reason to have that amount of money, or else like at this point it'll go away or whatever. Just some and like where's the
There should be a
the
gold
spice of
sink
goodness?
for something.
There has to be something. It's like the game is too nice. It is
The gold
Because
sink
the
is my
goal of the
incompetence.
game is quote unquote to unlock the 5th like door to get to the 5th
but I
dungeon.
don't care.
But you don't have a strong incentive to put anything in. And Brett,
No, yeah.
I will agree with your Debbie Downer because the thing I was about to say is my least favorite part of this game is the gameplay. I don't like this combat, which is strange because I like combat systems that are on a similar grid. The thing I think I hate the most is you're really rigidly locked to tiles.
Yes.
Despite playing this on a thing that has a stick. And yes, I can use the D-pad, but that doesn't feel good compared to the movement you could have in a faster paced game.
Especially when enemies can come at you diagonally.
Yeah, it feels just oddly restrictive for no good reason. And I think the other issue here is none of the gameplay changing things of like increasing your weapon types or whatnot change the gameplay enough to warrant the roguelite loop being as long as it is. Because like when you play something like Hades or Children of Morta or something, you play a different character or you get special artifacts or whatnot during your run, your gameplay changes significantly. I don't think there's anything in this that will do that.
And in Hades, even just picking your like starting weapon, they are so different from each other, and they have such different gameplay styles, and that isn't here, not to the same degree at all.
But which I think ties.
Did you guys get any of the buddy eggs yet?
The buddy egg, no.
Oh yeah, there's a bunch of buddy eggs that you can collect. I have 3 of them. One of them's a slime. You can get little friends. One of them's a slime. He adds the stun effect to your weapon. One of them is a little flying turret guy that'll pick up items that you drop and bring them over to you, so you don't have to scramble over the dungeon. And then the other one is a water turret guy who is there.
I've played at least 15 hours of this game and have not seen a single one of those.
I think he's playing a different game.
Were you selling the eggs?
What are they just called eggs? I don't think so. I never
They're
sold
eggs.
An egg.
They are just eggs, and they have either like the mossy texture on it or the slime texture on it. It's
what version of the game are you playing?
The egg version.
I have to pull it up and show you guys the eggs that I have.
I believe you.
It sounds like an in-game event for like Easter or something.
This sounds like a hello fellow 4th grade friend, come to my house. I'll show you how I got Mewtwo and Pokemon, or I got the cool eggs.
I got the eggs
in Moonlighter. God. Whoa, you got the egg! I didn't know you could do that.
Bizarre. Those exist and are so hidden.
7 eggs.
I will say the other big issue to me is back to those like chase goals. It really feels like you don't have enough to chase in this game, and I don't know if that changes later, but there's a reason I think a lot of RPGs will show you the big whole skill tree at the start, is because you go, ooh, I want to get to the end. And here, I see like only 5 shops, I see only 4 upgrades for my shop, I see only 4 upgrades for every individual thing. I go, oh, well, I don't have anything cool to get at the end. I can't like choose what layout I want my shop to be. I can't add rooms. Like in Animal Crossing, I can add rooms and I can get different layouts. Even if it doesn't do anything, I can make it look different. So I think if there was like a layer of customization even that was not like functional stuff, but just let me choose the layout of my shop and I get like the same number of item things as every other layout, but just have a little bit of a different look.
Yeah. I say this as someone who really enjoys this game. This is one of those games where I'm like, man, there is a great sequel to this. Like, 3 or 4 years onward, like, because you can think of so many things that they can add in to make it like just so much, like to make each different part so much better. Like what you were saying, like if they just had like shop customization where you can like customize the layout of like where your items are and where your like register is and stuff like that. Oh man, like just that alone.
Yeah,
I will never purchase the bargain bin as a mechanic.
I do like the bargain bin for just getting rid of stuff. That is useful if you have like just an extra ton of stuff that you need to get rid of and toss in there. Yeah. It is helpful.
If I do that, I put the stuff into the magnifying glass and get its actual value.
I will say this too. The UI in this game, it's so good. There are so many like awesome little touches. Like I loved if you put your cursor over an item that you have like set up in your shop, like on one of the display on the table, right? And then you hit like right trigger, right bumper, it goes right to that item in your like
it's very intuitive.
Which is like like little things like that, or like, oh, take all the items from this chest, rather than just little things like that where it's just it just makes everything snappy.
There were some things that I felt was weird, like different stack amounts. Like there are some items that can only be stacked 5 times versus 10 versus 3.
I think it's about value for the most part. It's
That would
how
make sense.
useful or valuable are these items. And by value, I also mean, like, do these have item upgrade properties? Can they be used to upgrade other things? Because some of those are
Oh.
also valued really highly.
Mhm.
There's a lot of variation.
Yeah,
that
it's
comes
one
to
of those
that.
games for me where like if you look at each different part of it, it seems very underdeveloped in comparison to other games in that space. But it's one of those like to me this game is more than the sum of its parts. It's got these 3 or 4 different genres that are somewhat undeveloped in comparison, but then when you smash them all together, it just makes this really nice gameplay loop, at least for me.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that the gameplay loop has felt good to me, but I think it's time limited. That's my big warning flash with this is I think I'm going to hit a point probably soon because I'm beginning to feel the all right, I can move on from this feeling of I don't need to see the end of this game. Nothing is changing past this point, which is weird because I want to bring up a completely different genre, a completely different type of game, but a game series that is often lambasted for its lack of variation. Dynasty Warriors. I, in the past week, have played through 2 separate Dynasty Warriors games. In the months prior, I have played through another 3.
My
So,
God.
why do I play through this many Dynasty Warriors games and Samurai Warriors games and not Moonlighter? Well, I think I've come to the conclusion that it's the differentiation of characters. That's the big thing. In those games, when you swap characters, you got a whole different moveset at your disposal. Even if that moveset's not very in-depth, I only need to play it for an hour, but if there's 100 characters and I only play each of them for an hour, I got my money's worth. I'm good.
There you go, yeah.
So I think that's what's lacking here is there's not enough variation, because even if I switch weapons, it just doesn't feel like anything has really changed here. Because most of them don't play meaningfully differently. You're just so locked down in combat that I think I'm kind of hitting that point with this game where I've liked Moonlighter. I don't regret playing a lot of it. I don't know that I would fully recommend this to anyone who isn't a huge fan of shopkeeping games. And if you've played Recettear, you've played Moonlighter but better, which is a tough blow because Recettear was like the inspiration for Moonlighter, I believe.
Oof.
But I don't know. It's a hard thing to top. So
I do hope this is something that will because I mean this game was very successful as a Kickstarter or Indiegogo project, one of those like funded projects.
I would love a Moonlighter too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, take this and then just add more complexity into each aspect. Oh my god! Like, or just someone else, you know?
Give me
like, have
actual
this
town
be-
building. Just throw in legitimate town building of I can spend gold to like upgrade the whole town and like choose its
Yep.
layout or something.
And honestly, like, I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with the item shop portion of it, but really, what it needs above anything else is just some way of like some motivation of like, okay, like debt collectors are coming in to take your money. Like, it needs that one
And
element of
preferably
like, oh, my
just
money
let me
can be
move
taken.
and attack diagonally. Just let me do
Yeah.
that so it doesn't feel clunky. It's not even a thing about like balance. It just feels clunky because I think almost everyone who's playing this game is going to be playing it on a controller where
I played
that
mouse and
feels
keyboard
necessary.
for it.
Mouse and keyboard I don't think is bad, but I still feel like I expect if I hold W and D, I'm going to move up and to the right, not just one direction.
I will say, on mouse and keyboard, moving and the dungeons feel fine. Getting through the shop UI is a little annoying on the M
clunky.
and K.
I'd imagine because you have to like click everywhere instead of using like.
Oh no, there are button shortcuts, but they're not
Um,
in good places. They're not where you'd
that's
think they
weird.
would be.
I see.
Oh, and
Like
I wanted to.
a regular back button will take you completely out instead of just going back to the item page.
Oh, okay. I did want to say this too. The tutorial in this game, mwah, it is like perfectly clear. It gives you enough time and enough space to kind of like when they introduce something, they give you this whole room to kind of explore and kind of show, you know, like how many different ways you can use dodging. Like you can use it to jump over you know, pits and stuff like that. It shows you that it does have iframes and that kind of thing, and it has like a little instruction for you and those little like banners on the upper wall and stuff.
Yeah.
It was like very clear without like getting in the way with a ton of text boxes and stuff. It did that so well.
And it's also over in like 2 minutes.
Very quick.
Yeah.
Like,
which
if
is
you
great.
grasp it, you are not held back by like a menu that comes up and stays there for 30 seconds permanently until it's done or whatever.
You don't need to
You
read
just-
5 pages of text JRPG style every time you get a
Yes.
new game mechanic
Thank
to play
you,
with.
Star Ocean demo, because that is what that is.
I love you, Xenoblade, but you do that every single game.
But and obviously you can't do that with every type of game, but like if you can have a tutorial that is something like that, where it's like it's visual, it doesn't get in the way, but it allows you to kind of experiment with what you just were introduced and stuff. Oh, it was very, very well done.
Wyatt, you did remind me. The dodge roll, man, I love it half the time. The other half of the time, it sends you straight to your death, and it's very unfortunate.
Speaking of
'cause
the dodge roll,
You have like edge protection normally, but if you dodge roll even a little bit, you don't have that edge protection anymore, which makes sense if you're going across a gap. But the issue is you have enemies that will like attack you when you have to dodge, and if you dodge in a direction in some areas that is all directions, will have nothing, and so you'll fall and you'll take damage and then respawn at the start of the room, and that will repeat.
well, one of the things there too is also when you dodge roll, especially near a ledge, it acts like you can move diagonally and it'll throw you off.
Yep.
Oh well, have you guys seen the little twinkle in some of the pits and jump down to get more artifacts?
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I didn't see that.
I've
Little
only
hidden
encountered the Gollum history book down there. Have you guys seen anything else different?
I've gotten like tools and stuff before from it, things that are other high value items, but I don't know that I've gotten anything weird that you couldn't get in the normal dungeon. But typically, I think they're higher value stuff.
Did you guys have like a green ghost spawn that hunted you down after that?
I believe that's if
yes.
you take too long somewhere.
Huh.
That can also spawn. I could be wrong about that, but I believe that is something that's possible. Might be misremembering, or maybe I just ran into it too many times in the old version of the game. All right. Is that everyone's thoughts on Moonlighter done?
Yeah.
What's your game?
My game. I've kept wanting to do this for a while. And then I'd always put it off to do other things. But I've always wanted to get a Game Pass game that we can all play together. And I thought that would be kind of a fun mix up to what we normally do, where we play everything individually. And because next month is October, I decided that my next game is Alien Fireteam Elite.
Wyatt, this was my first choice, but I knew you were going to pick it, so I didn't.
I appreciate that.
I'm glad you've come through.
Yeah.
Can I ask, is that crossplay?
That is a great
Maybe.
question.
Good
But I
thing
would
to
like
look
to
up.
play it on my Xbox because it'll probably run it nicer than my laptop. But if not,
I
it's
am
not
not
the
sure.
end of the world.
It also is important, if you're picking from the Xbox thing, make sure it's also on PC and vice versa.
Yes. Yeah.
You want to,
Don't worry,
because
I
they
made-
do have some differences in terms of what is on the library.
Also, the several times that I've tried to play it, I haven't been able to find a game. So it may be the only way that we can play
Really?
is if we all play it together.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, right?
Jeez, that's so sad.
It makes me sad. But
Yeah, I actually already have it installed. So
oh, you should have told me, Ryan.
well, I haven't had time to play it yet, so it's been that kind of game. I installed it with the intent to play it and just haven't gotten to it yet. Who wants to go next?
Me go.
You
I
go?
have declared. Me go now.
We don't have someone in this cast named me. Sorry.
Too bad. I choose to ignore that joke.
As soon as you said Migo, all I could think about was, oh, you're talking about Shigo from Totally Spies.
Wait, you
From
mean
Totally
Shigo from
Spies,
Kim Possible?
From Kim Possible.
Kim Possible.
How
Totally
dare.
Spies. I saw someone else talking about Totally Spies earlier and got distracted. That's why. They're very similar shows. So.
That is true. That is true. All right. My game for this was Chinatown Detective Agency which I start off by saying was just a really weird experience. I think this is one of those things where the concept is like the coolest thing, and the execution will be discussed later in this discussion. But
your silence speaks volumes.
The point, I will say, I did not hate my experience playing this game. I don't know how you guys felt about it, but basically the point is, it is 2037, something like that, future in Singapore, and you play as a private detective lady who just left the police force, and now she's on her own trying to presumably make her way in your ye old corrupt cyberpunk dystopia, which we can all relate to because we're living in one. But it's very cool. They get you right in with the atmosphere, with the synthy music, and the quotes from the Bible, but they're replacing God with man because we can make a robot now.
This instant explosion man.
Yes, and a guy who gets blown up by a bird.
Intro.
Poor guy in the intro.
That was a very cool intro. Yeah.
And I think that carries over to the writing itself in this game being pretty good. A lot of just like reading the dialogue from phone calls and stuff, and rereading dialogue that is spoken is, pretty good in terms of a just character interaction standpoint. I appreciate that the voice acting is, fitting the diversity of the characters. Like it actually has like a lot of different accents that it seems like these people would have. I don't think the performances are anything to write home about, though.
I was just about to say
they're not bad.
And I think they're not bad, but some of them are like, I'm fine with it.
They scale in quality pretty dramatically, depending on who it is.
You can kind of tell that they really focused on trying to get someone that like would actually have the accent of a person from this part of the world, because you travel all over the place in this game, and I think that's awesome. I remember when I was playing the Medium forever ago, and they kept trying to tell me this game was in Poland, but all the people talk like we are right now, and no, that's not how that works in Poland.
Remember Assassin's Creed Unity takes place in Paris, France, but everyone has the thickest British accent you've ever heard. It was so weird.
That's disgusting.
So on the one hand, I think in this case I am okay to take that over, everyone just sounding like Mr. and Mrs. America, or having like your regular old like Troy Baker.
Whoops, all Troy Baker.
Exactly, yeah. But
what
I also think
that is more like quality voice acting,
professional. Yeah,
sure.
You can tell.
I have a feeling it was probably a budgetary concern with this game for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think at least the officer you play as is pretty well acted. My problem, to stay on the dialogue for 1 second more, because there is a lot of it in this game, because that's how you play it. It's written in a way where nobody thinks; they just say everything.
And some people don't speak like humans.
Yes, as a result of that, because there's no, I think, like PS1 JRPGs, we're thinking no voice acting here, like you could have, I guess, but no, they just didn't do it back then. And so when a character is thinking, they have like the parentheses around the text in the text box, or like the little like quote things around, so you can tell, oh, this character's thinking. It's kind of harder to do that with a similar screen layout, but with voice acting over it, because what are you going to make them like whisper, put like an echo filter on it? It's just kind of weird. And I guess they just didn't feel like figuring out that problem. So characters just speak their mind in a way that no person would, to explain what they're going to do in almost like an as dialogue way, which, the information has to be delivered to the player. So it solves that problem, but it is another problem in that nobody talks like that, and the cyberpunk immersion is kind of stripped away when characters
because it's like a detective mystery game too. I also feel like it like sticks out a lot.
Some characters are also like overwritten, and like you'll talk to a character in the background of one scene, and they'll suddenly start spouting like weird quotes at you.
The guy in the library.
Yeah, it'll be like.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I thought it was really funny.
Incredibly out of place. It's funny once, but then there's a couple of them, and you're like,
oh yeah.
This off into this giant TED talk. He's like, anyway, what books have you been reading recently?
That one I thought was really funny. But there's other instances
funny,
of this
yeah.
happening in other areas, and I'm like, it feels out of place everywhere, but that isn't that guy.
Because that's the kind of like, I get the point of it is you're presenting these philosophical ideas.
It sounds like movie dialogue is kind of the point I'm going for here, but
it's what
it
we
feels
call dial exposition.
yeah, it's out of place because it sounds like it's like a monologue I imagine Deckard Cain hearing someone have in Blade Runner, and I'm like, that's cool in a movie to a degree. In a video game, I think especially when most of your main cast talks like that, you don't need your side characters to also talk like that.
And the other benefit that a movie has with that kind of dialogue is that you can shoot it in a really interesting way.
Yes.
And you have cool visuals to accompany. Here is, I'm not saying the pixel art is better, but I'm saying it's very like static.
It's a top down, not top down, but like a side view pixel art game. So
I've never thought of using the term waxing philosophically at me before, but it feels like
I
that.
like it, and I'm stealing it
absolutely.
for the future.
This is another one. I'm super curious how far everyone got in this game.
Yes, I was about to ask because I think before we go with that, I think the gameplay of it is very important to get out of the way for people that do not know. Because I think it is possible that we got to wildly different places by the end of an hour or 2 hours or however long you stuck with it for. This game is why I said is the coolest concept is that I am someone that loves going down just randomly Wikipedia rabbit holes and just seeing where they take me, learning the eldritch knowledge of a past civilization or some cool mushroom facts or something. I don't know.
Yep.
And cool bug facts. I'm behind you.
Exactly. And then this game basically is designed to. It gives you a problem in the game, and the game states it in the tutorial like, okay. This is the amount that the game's going to give you. You will not get any more help. You will not get any more evidence or anything. This is the clue. It is up to you in the real life to take out your phone, which you're going to use up to look up the solution anyway, to instead look up the information that we're giving you so that you don't just, feel inclined to do the thing that you would with your phone anyway.
I was using the phone
to just not look up the answer.
I was using the phone button in the UI, and it would take out like an actual. Okay, here's your default browser. We're gonna open up a search window for you. It takes you out of the game and puts you in Google.
And the cool thing is,
and I love
hit
that mechanic.
Points where like the clock is still running while you are doing that, which is really cool.
Yeah.
The thing is that in real life, when there's no framework around it, you are at the whimsy of the universe to decide where that Wikipedia rabbit hole takes you. And you may or may not specifically click on the series of 6 links that you need to go through to find out that Beirut was a town that is attached to the stamp of a city in Turkey in the game. I did not grasp that at all.
Wow.
I did not get there because I went in a completely different direction multiple times.
The game does not tell you how many different websites you need to look up to understand that Ludstown is a different way of saying London. And it's like slang for London, which I didn't know. And I was like,
me neither.
And I was like, because things kept popping up at like, what's Ludstown? And the game was like, no. I want to do this legit. Like, what is this? And then I eventually figured out, I think it's like a Shakespearean term for London. And I was like, okay.
I just guessed London for that one. I was like, oh yeah, I could hear someone saying, oh, let's go to Ludstown. And it'd be like London Town, you know?
See, that was in the back of my head, but I was almost like, do they want you to think that? And they want you to double check the internet first. I was like, that almost seems too easy. So I had to like double check. But
right, you've also got flight scheduling to deal with.
Yes, we have
I haven't gotten there yet.
You can only wait in hour increments. So if you take too long to press the button, it changes the hour, and all of a sudden you're like an hour late for your pre-boarding.
You want to know what I did? When you schedule your flight, you have to select the date to schedule your flight on, and it defaults to the current day. But when I scheduled my first flight for the mission you have to do this when, I went and scheduled a flight for what I thought was the next day, because I am an American.
Oh no!
And we write dates the stupid way.
And
the game,
month later,
the game starts you in August. So the 8th month on the 4th day, the 3rd day. So you can't look at it and know which is which, because no number is above 12. So I was like, okay, I'm going to assume American date standards here, because I have no reason not to. Went and put that in, and scheduled myself a flight for the next month.
The next month, baby!
Did the same thing.
So I just rescheduled the flight, and now I still have a flight scheduled.
You might need it. I ran into a different problem with that, where I did I overweighted or whatever, and then I missed my flight, and it was like, yeah, okay, don't do that next time. I was like, all right, I am now going to wait until the earliest possible time, and then wait in real time for like 30 seconds, because every minute is a second or whatever, until I can do that, because that's just, oh well, you're out $550 and that's it.
Oh god.
Another thing, because this is the furthest that I got, is with like submitting puzzle answers or whatever. There's no, I feel like in your classic like DOS box point and click text adventure game, whatever, you just be able to type something in and it'd be like, okay, good, now you have solved the puzzle or whatever, go to the place or whatever, like that's fine. In this game, it's like, and it is like the third-ish puzzle you have to deal with, so I don't really consider it spoilers, considering that we got to it in the demo length. For the stamp from Turkey, I'm just sitting here like, where? Okay, who do I get? I know now that this is in Turkey, because I looked up whatever Ipol it was, because that's how all the cities end in a region near Greece. And I was like, okay, I know this isn't Turkey. Do I go to Turkey right now? That's a really big waste of money. That's 550 in-game dollars to go to a country I don't need to go to. And I'm very unsure of where to submit this answer. What do I do? And so I'm looking at the answer for the optional quest, which is to find
there's optional quests in here.
Yes, there's optional objectives that you can see.
You got to find the stamp, but if you are also up for a challenge, you have to find the city that it was sent from, which is actually not that hard. You just have to decipher for the ones that it can what the letters are, and then you can find it. But it's not a huge deal. But you do get like a bonus payout if you do.
The problem is like, okay, Beirut. Bayreuth is the spelling, because we used to be a French city or whatever. Do I go to Turkey? Apparently, the order you have to do it is you still have to go to like Turkey first or whatever, and then you have to go to Paris or the other place.
Oh no!
To do it, and just the order for it was just really weird.
That's
I was like, I
so
don't know.
much money.
Exactly, because it's also. Yeah, it's a lot of money to do it right, but I can imagine if I wasn't suspicious and wanted to just like see what it wanted from me to test what like the waters of what the game was expecting from me, I probably would have wasted all my money going to places just trying to fish it out. And there's no way to easily get it back. I think if you're out of money, you might just be out of money.
You do have to pay rent in this game.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Pay $2 every time you take a train ride, which is the only way to get between different locations. Which is it's weird because it doesn't feel too demanding, but it's also like
encourages you just enough to not waste.
How much?
Yes,
resources.
It makes you
How
worried.
much money do you have? I don't think I've seen a dollar amount anywhere in the UI.
Bottom left.
Yeah,
you got to deal with it all the time.
It is one of those games that like kind of approaches like, okay, this is like hitting a little too close to home. Now I'm paying rent.
I know what you're talking about.
I will say, so I got...
Think about paying rent right now.
I got relatively lucky with my guesses for everything. I say guesses because that is functionally what they were.
Yes,
for the answers, and got the things correct on the first try. I didn't have to do anything different, so I got those. I paid rent. Now I have $2,400 or $24,000 whatever the equivalent of this currency is, just sitting there. And I'm like, okay, I guess I don't need to worry about this.
Yeah,
I'm allowed to make some mistakes now. But yeah, it feels like if you're following along decently, you're not going to have any troubles with the money stuff.
Yeah.
But this is where I was why I was curious how far everyone got, because I hit the point where you have to make a decision between which of the 3 clients you've had you're going to follow.
Oh.
So you have to make a choice, and you can only go with one. The game warns you, like, this is a permanent choice that will affect the story. You can only pick one of these 3 clients to continue doing missions for. And I hit that point, I was like, okay, this is really interesting. I haven't chosen one yet, because at that point, this is when I got like the first, I think, bug of the game, where it said, you've now unlocked manual saving and can save in between missions at your thing. But there's no button to save. And then I went and paid the bills, and then it replayed the tutorial cutscene that I just watched and put me back in. So I was like, okay, maybe that'll be my stopping point for
just in case.
Just in case something weird is going on. But yeah, that's as far as I got, which when I did the 3 initial cases /4, if you count the starting one. You do see a couple different sides of this game. I'm curious if other people stopped after the stamps or kept going.
I have not gotten to the stamps yet. I still need to play this. Whenever I try to sit down and play it, I feel like I have to have a lot of time at my disposal.
It is a puzzle game, functionally.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And I have not had that throughout this month.
I just kind of sat down intending to only play it for a little while, because I played this game today. This was my like today game. So I sat down and played it this morning. I was like, oh, I'll just play the 2 hours. I wound up playing it for, I think, around like 3.5. I had a good time with this.
It goes by fast, I'll say.
It goes by quick, because the puzzling bit is interesting. Notably, during the stamp mission, eventually was just like, what am I doing?
Yes, I kept hitting that wall where I was like, I am clearly in the wrong place, and there's no way that this will loop back.
Not even that, but I was just like, what is the stamp's relevance to the starting cutscene of like someone exploding? Am I gonna get to that? You do get to that. But
oh my god,
there's just a mission with a stamp, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And you get like a lore dump afterwards explaining why you did that to some degree, kind of, but I'm still like, okay, you really hired a detective to go return stamps because you didn't want to do it yourself. That's what I'm getting.
Wow.
Pretty much.
There is more to it than that, but that is functionally what it comes off as, and it's odd because these 3 like initial cases feel very disjointed in what you're doing. Brett, did you get to the water case?
I think that's the Ace Attorney method, where you do the first couple of cases and they seem disjointed, and then everything's starting to come together in the last 2.
Yeah, but this is a weird situation because you have the 3 different. You got to pick one of these 3 people, and the third person is the water heist, the water case person, where you like go talk to a water company, and very minor spoilers. You pick up. They kill the person that you're supposed to talk to before you meet him, and you're like, oh, this is sketchy. I should go to the event. You go to the event and you interrogate people, essentially, pretending to be a journalist, and find out, oh, they're going to poison the water supply so that people will pay money for their gold subscription water plan.
Like, oh, Christ.
God.
This is very strange. And then I was like, oh, maybe this is like the lead in to the next part of the game. No. It just ends. They arrest the people and it's over. And I'm like, okay. I felt like that was going to expand out a little bit. I guess it was just to introduce the third guy who's like a politician trying to uncorrupt the politicians and fix corruption in the interior of Singapore's government. So you have like the choice between, you end up with a choice between that guy, Tiger Lily, who's the stamp person friends with the person that sent you on the stamp hunt. Then I completely forgot who the first person was that sent you on.
The guy you meet under the bonsai tree?
Yeah, this is our Rupert, the sketchy man. Sketchy Corpo Man.
Rupert. I forgot his name was Rupert.
Rupert, Sketchy Corpo Man, who doesn't explain anything that happened, and at the end I was just left wondering, okay, I don't know what your deal is, and I don't know why I would pick you. So, it's a weird spot that it's left me in. I am not fully in on this game yet, but I think I'm going to play more of it. The thing that hurts it the most is the lack of ability to save whenever I want, because this really feels like a game that could use that.
That's especially why it feels like a time sink to me.
Yeah,
because you have to sit down and finish a mission, or else you don't save your progress at the start. And even once you unlock the manual save, you have to be out of a mission to save. So,
yeah,
this it's another case where I am echoing Wyatt with Moonlighter, where I think a sequel or another attempt could really be awesome, because the concept is so cool. It just needs
the art is great too.
The art is very good.
It's fantastic.
The concept just needs to be ironed out, and it already has. And that game's called Hypnospace Outlaw, so just play that instead.
It's also called Brett. This is not the first game to use the internet as a search mechanism for in-game things. The Secret World, the MMO that used to exist by Funcom, that now still exists under like Legends, which is a weird third-person shooter version of it, had this whole system where you'd pull up an in-game web browser to look up real-world clues about like cryptids and whatnot and find out info, because it was like a paranormal themed game. That game was awesome. And it did the website thing a lot better than this, which is unfortunate. I think a lot of it was just it pulls up an in-game browser instead of tabbing you out. That's my big difference.
I wish, and this is now doubly confirmed to not be outside of
the other thing the Secret World did, which I'm not sure if this game might have also done. Maybe some eBay listings that I saw were made by the developers, but the Secret World devs like made websites for certain things.
Yes. That which again, I now is doubly confirmed that it is not outside of the realm of possibility for an indie studio to do, because Hypnospace and this also. Why McBee possibly go on like a super wrong route when just an ARG website would have been so much cooler? Like, yeah, you're not going through the whole internet, but like if you have just like a cool cyberpunk looking like semi-curated experience to go along with this, you still get the feeling of, oh, I'm cyber sleuthing right now. But it's less of a chance of you just going completely off the rails and having to be like, all right, I'm in the wrong spot.
That was the thing with Secret World. The Secret World was a mix, so you would do both. And the idea, like, you'd start the game and you would join one of the like Illuminati, the Templars, or like the Chaos Dragon Asian faction, and you had some cool stuff you could do with that. But this game just really made me miss Secret World.
Sounds like it.
I'm even imagining like, oh, what if you had a whole companion app that like the whole app would be like the interface on your player character's phone, right?
Oh yeah.
And so it had its own like menu and stuff.
That'd be really cool.
That would be neat. And then again, it would keep you enclosed in the game. So like you said, you're not going off on all these tangents that actually don't get you anywhere. You know? It could be kind of.
It was crazy. But... It was, I like the idea of this game a lot, and I think I will keep playing it, but it has felt like a roller coaster of good and bad.
Yeah. Again, second attempt
and unfinished.
Try again.
A number of things that do definitely feel unfinished. Like the plane flights are always $550.
No matter how far they are.
Or how far or anything, and the time system supposedly will be able to make you... That's another thing you learn is on the next one. If you miss the time for a meeting or something, you can't just miss a quest or fail the game. And at that point, I'm just kind of like, okay, I could see if you're using this for some cool stuff, for like a missing quest chain or something, where you have to be there at specific times. But if you can just fail the game, why allow me to miss the time?
Yeah,
that feels like something that's better served in Daggerfall, when there's multiple main quests you can do and miss for things like that.
Where you want to restrict someone to only doing certain content instead of doing all of it. Then it's a good play, but it feels weird because it happened. The mission up for the water house, the way this starts is you get a phone call from someone who's like, "Hey, I need your help. I can't talk here. Meet me at this bus stop." And he goes, "Meet me at this bus stop at 11 p.m. tonight." I checked the time in the top left corner.
Oh no, it's already 11.
11:45 p.m.
Oh no.
And I was like, is this intentional? Because the game just started here. Like, I didn't set the time here. I didn't do anything else that would have made the time change. I think it was just the game needs that person to die, so they make the email arrive after the time that you're supposed to be there.
Weird.
Which was very jarring and strange and felt disjointed. Very odd.
Needs more polish.
The only thing that I wanted to point out was that I think when you're in like the downstairs library area where you meet the librarian lady for the first time, you can go on one of those like machines and you can see what people have checked out. And there's a bunch of like movies and books, and I read the whole list.
Same here.
Crazy
hoping for
thing.
an Easter egg.
Here, I found an Easter egg, but it only pertains to me. Someone had checked out The Legend of Korra, which I'm currently watching right now. So I was like, what? So it's just this weird moment. And I was like, that's not an Easter egg at all, but it is to me and only to me. And it was really weird.
I saw someone check out like a Game Grumps thing, and I was like, ooh.
Oh my god.
I closed it.
All right. Any
What's
other
the
thoughts
game?
on this before we move on? Brett, what's your game?
All right. Well, this is twofold. Alex, are you going to pick Scorn?
I will not pick Scorn.
Okay. I will also not pick Scorn.
Okay.
I will
Okay.
pick The Evil Within.
Okay.
Okay.
I think I want to play that more.
Scorn will be here
one,
next
right?
month.
One, yes.
Yeah.
All right. Alex, you're the only one left.
Oh wow! It's me time. Let's see if I remember how to say the genre of this game correctly. The game that I picked for all of us to play was Midnight Fight Express, which is a very amped up title, which I feel like matches the energy of the game that you get as
Very
well.
much
It
so.
is. It's like I always want to call it top down, but it's not entirely top down. It's a
Isometric.
little isometric
Isometric exercise.
isometric beat 'em up with a lot of combos and finishers and different techniques that you can learn and weapons that you can pick up and things, and it's some very fun things to mess around with.
It's a John Wick simulator. That's
Pretty much.
kind of what I realized after like
Yeah, the
20,
combat I
25
wouldn't say
minutes.
is I don't think the combat's as fluid to be John Wick, but also I picked this game. There's another game that has the same sort of art style and feel. It might be from the same people who did My Friend Pedro. It has the
Side
exact
scroller.
same.
Kind of looks
Yeah.
similar.
It has the exact same ranking system for levels and the same text or the same font that they use for it. Anyway, on both of these games, I have not managed to get higher than a C- in any of the levels, and that is on one level I got a C-. I average D to F because I don't know what the combat flow is asking for from me
I
here.
think that might be because you might be using the same few moves over and over again, and it might be looking for move diversity, which is a stat. And I found that when I was like going crazy and trying a bunch of stuff and doing like all the finishers that I could and picking up every single thing and throwing them and beating people with it and doing all the different moves that I could, I managed to do a lot better than D. But when I was just like, I don't care, I just want to look cool and do the same thing over and over again, I was hitting D- over and over.
Yeah.
Because the game, I need to like follow that up because it didn't feel bad to get the D- because this game feels
Absolutely didn't.
awesome. This game feels amazing to play.
There
It is
is
so
some
cool.
really satisfying chunk to the combat.
Oh,
There are some
yeah.
points when it doesn't really flow too well and the movement's a little slower or stranger than you'd expect, but hitting people feels so good.
Now I know comparing these two games.
Are you
is
about to say
not-
Sifu?
Are you gonna say it?
No, no.
Oh, you're not gonna say Sifu.
Not Sifu, because I had played this directly after playing Ninja Gaiden 2, and I was like, oh, this is better.
It is. It's okay.
But it's a
I'm
weird
here
for
comparison
you.
because they're not the same like kind of game at all. But
I
like,
usually
I don't
Oh,
know.
sorry.
It was just like It was like when I started playing this, I was like, ah.
My
it was like
biggest
a nice exhale.
my biggest gripe with the game. I'm usually a guy who goes for story above almost anything else. This is not a game you play for the story.
Well, there's a cool setup for a story, but then there are characters that speak in meme speak and like things that just take you out of it and are.
As soon as I heard Jeroni talk, I was like, Brett is gonna hate Jeroni so much.
I was like, if this had kept a somewhat serious tone, not even like a serious tone, but just keep it to a minimum, I would have been in on this weird story they're telling. Instead, it's just I'm out of the story zone.
I recently
would have been fine if Jeroni was the only character that was like breaking the fourth wall and stuff, because that would have been kind of interesting. But everyone's
it just cheapens this whole like amnesia idea and everything. It just doesn't feel as good.
The past 2 levels that I've played, one of them is unfortunately so frustrating that I might stop playing the game because I really dislike their vehicle segments. Because none of the upgrades or anything you got, none of the upgrades or anything you've got matter at that point. You can do nothing but move and shoot, and that's it. So I hate the vehicle segments for this game. One of the other things I played. This isn't like good or bad. I just want to talk about it a bit. You go into a game dev studio in one of the levels, and they're having a pillow fight. They're having a pillow fight, and they have Nerf guns, and all the damage you do is non-lethal.
See, it's an unrealistic depiction of a game developer studio because they're having too much fun.
And then, it doesn't get too unrealistic. It's like, alrighty, now everyone be back in here. So we're celebrating the launch party for this game, the game that you're playing right now. Everybody come back in here at 8 a.m. tomorrow. To work on the very next game. We're already starting it, and it needs to be done in half the time. You have 3 weeks. And then after that, the SWAT is chasing you, and they invade this poor game studio with actual automatic weapons and riot shields and everything, and you have to try to defeat the SWAT people with pillows and Nerf guns, and it's hilarious because you can do it.
I love that.
Oh, it's fun. And then for a game titled Midnight Fight Express, not a big fan of like the vehicle segments when you're driving. There are 2 train levels that I have run into this time.
I run into one.
Mostly subway things. I love train levels. These are really bad.
Oh, hard disagree. Oh, you're wrong.
Yeah, I really disliked the first one.
You ran into
fun. So cool.
Holy crap!
I thought that
agreeing on something.
Are we talking about the one where you have to dodge the bullets through the windows?
Yes, because my moves would keep locking me to things, and so I'd jump in and then just get shot through the window, and I'd be like, okay, if I block someone, I should stay in the same place and not get locked to them, so they shoot me through a window.
I think that's
when I don't have any other options.
And the combat overall for locking you into place. I could deal with the laser thing after getting used to it. What I didn't like, train levels can feel claustrophobic in a good way. This one didn't have a good claustrophobic flow to it, I feel. And especially when you're fighting on the rooftop, it didn't.
I like the rooftop segment. I didn't like the interior segment. The interior segment felt the worst to me. The rooftop was fine. But
we might have just played in completely different ways because I did not run into. I think I did that on my first try. I did not run into a problem. I maybe got like hit.
I wasn't stuck there for very long, but it was just like it was a notable dip in my enjoyment of the game compared to the rest of it. That said, I like this game very much.
No, how?
Oh, okay. I want to be the hot take on this one. I think the problem is, look, I play a lot of character action games. I play a lot of fighting games. I played Sleeping Dogs. This is Sleeping Dogs, but worse in almost every way.
Yeah, but Ryan, you can throw a plunger at someone and it sticks to their head.
That was great. That was great, Wyatt. That is I really, really dislike how I block with Y and then have to press L1 to do a counter instead of my normal attack button, but I can unlock an ability to do it with my normal attack button. But for some reason, that's not the default.
That's weird.
And then for some reason,
I agree with you. That's weird.
it's odd to me to have to take my button off the attack button when I need to press a Y button to counter and then press X to do another attack. That just feels awkward. I wish it was on a bumper or something to do the block counter so that I could actually do that. But no, they have other stuff on the bumpers. But the bumper, for some reason, is your heavy attack, which I would normally associate with being on Y as to normal game standards. So there's like the controls feel very weird the way this game is by default set up. I don't think it's a problem. I could get used to it, but my fingers are doing things in places consecutively that don't feel right. Like it's a weird flow here. But my biggest thing is the whole time I was playing this game, I was thinking, I kind of want to be playing Sifu right now. Because the way the combat was felt here was like Sifu, except nothing had any impact. And that was very sad.
Impact.
Really?
What are you talking
I
about?
gotta disagree.
It just nothing had the impact of something like Sifu or Sleeping Dogs. I'm like, I don't know what it was. Maybe I had some weird audio bug going on, but there was very little sound when I hit something. There was
you had an audio.
The only thing that
sure.
felt really good.
Oh yeah.
But there was audio for things because I had to turn it down to hear Alex because Alex was in the call with me while I was playing this. So I think there's just a weird flow here. I think finishers felt really cool when you could pull them off, but for some reason they don't seem to pull off the same way generally. So you have like a combo where you unlock an ability to do finishers at the end of your thing by putting L1 at the end of a combo of a couple of button presses. But for some reason they don't sometimes connect. You'll do like a finisher, which is like a grapple. One of them is a big suplex slam that looks really cool. You pull out some wrestling moves. It's great. But then sometimes it just doesn't work. And I wish the game would tell me, like, is it the enemy type? Is something weird happening here?
Yeah, like I don't think you
know.
can suplex heavies. That's one of the things that
But nothing has indicated to me that is the case, and I've definitely suplexed a heavy at one point. So I don't know what happened. I'm not sure what's going on. I guess I've just run into issues with this game. But I don't know. It's just a
like
weird
me
feeling.
with Ninja Gaiden Sigma.
Toilet plungers. You don't understand.
The toilet plunger was funny.
That's the thing you're stuck on when you can cave someone's head in with a sledgehammer?
By throwing it at them from across the room.
I don't know. I also largely thought the weapons didn't feel great. Aside from the gun felt super powerful. But everything else felt very... I don't know, it just killed things very quickly. It didn't look that good when I did it. And I was a little disappointed.
See, I am the opposite, where when things started taking like 60 hit combos in Ninja Gaiden 1, I stopped enjoying it because I much rather prefer like, oh, I got the 2 hits in necessary in a super short amount of time. That was.
So you see, they give you so many abilities that need you to get a 3-hit combo to even start working. So it feels very strange when I can't do that.
Between different enemies, though.
But it doesn't work if you do that. You have to do it on one enemy. So
I was finding it fine. I don't know.
It's some weird thing going on that I don't know. It just doesn't feel good. When I rushed the upgrade for finishers, I expected it to feel good, and it didn't feel so good.
This is Ryan's turn to be the jaded, long-haired, big bearded one.
No,
see, this is the problem.
I never see this.
I don't know. I don't think this game is bad. I'm probably gonna keep playing it a little bit to see if I'm missing something. That's my big thing. But I want to make clear, I'm not having like a difficult time with this or anything. It's
definitely not hard. Yeah,
it isn't hitting the kind of like Hotline Miami sort of flow state that it feels like it's wanting to hit. And I think a lot of that is coming down to just the controls don't feel like they roll smoothly together past a certain point. There's just weird things going on that I'm not a huge fan of with it. So I'm curious what general perception of this game was. So I'm like really curious. I know what your perception is.
Oh, okay, you meant general. That's why I asked.
Yeah. I understand what the gamer perspective is. But I'm super curious. I want to figure out if there's a person that had a Cuphead moment with this game. I think that would be really funny to watch.
And I wanted to ask the 2 resident artists in the room a question.
Hello.
I had this weird thing where I just felt like the character models were really well animated, but they didn't fit like the theme or the style of the game or the world like at all, like visually. And I was wondering what like I don't know if you felt the same way or not.
I didn't, but I think a source of that could be model and texture simplicity due to like massive character customization, which there is. So like having, a million different tattoos and hairstyles and colors for everything and styles of pants that are all very well modeled, I think at least. That could be that usually is part of a reason for things looking simpler when it comes to character models and stuff. That being said,
I
I
think
don't hold the same sentiment as you.
I think are you getting at something where the city seems very like not realistic, but well detailed and trashed up and gritty and grungy and things like
I'm
that,
not
whereas
even
the
saying that
characters
like
feel sort of gummy in how smooth they can be with the low
I
quality.
guess it almost just because I don't think they look bad at all. That's not really what I'm saying. What I'm more saying is that like you have the aesthetic of like the world and this setting, and then you have these like super clean cut, like almost cartoonish character models, and it feels like those two things are clashing with each other.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's something I definitely felt. As if the character models don't feel like they're located in this world.
They're really well animated. Like for I'm assuming I don't know who made this, but it seems like a smaller team. Probably smaller budget, and it's really well animated. But
I think it's because the world has a lot of like hard lines, whereas the characters don't. They're very soft.
Well, they look like Mr. Clean. It looks like they just came out of taking like a nice spa, like just freshly scrubbed.
Because they don't
Until you massacre enough people and you're covered in blood.
Well, that
even
is
then the blood is still kind of clean too. I think I get what you're saying. It's very
It's very
one-tone
sterile
colors.
compared to this like city that's supposed to be this like hellscape of like gang wars and stuff. You have these very clean, sterile looking
It's
character
because
models.
there's no, besides tattoos, there's no like texture detail. It's just the flat color on the model of the thing, and that would be it. And I know what you're talking about now. Where if they had like a lot of like similar polycount 3D games from like when they were forced to have that amount in older games, have like slight color differentiation with like just like the pixel art for your skin or whatever might have like shading as it goes like towards the inside of their arm, or like if it's in a grungier setting, it'll just have like a bunch of different shades of brown all over it to almost make it look like sketchier. And that would have made the character models look awesome because they do belong grungier. However, when all I'm seeing is red, I just don't care.
I will say this too. I have a suspicion that the choice to have them look like this was made for like visibility purposes, because
I
you can
absolutely agree with that.
clearly see them.
I absolutely agree with that because there are later levels. This is before the game dev studio, where you're fighting a bunch of biker gangs that will suicide bomb into you with motorcycles, and it's really bad enemy density with them, to where you're trying to link a combo to another guy, but someone gets in your way and the animation cancels. But their jackets perfectly blend in with the parking lot, so I can never tell where an attack is coming from, except for like the occasional like flash of UI or the triangle. Gotta press it.
Look at the cover art for this game. This game doesn't look anything.
Because I didn't see any screenshots. I try and know as little about these games going into them as possible, right? So I just went into this game and I saw the menu art, and I was like, "Oh, this looks cool." And then the game started, and I was like, "What?"
That is like 3D indie game like staple. Like many times I look at like the Steam cover art for a game, like, oh my god, that's so like painterly and awesome. And then I open it up and it just looks like almost like asset, like worse than this game, like asset store flip. And I just like, that doesn't, you paid that one artist really well to make that picture. But I know what you mean. This game is also at fault for that.
Yeah. You know what I have no faults against though? The soundtrack.
It is really
the soundtrack is great.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It is amazing.
Okay. That I am not a big fan of techno, so I didn't really enjoy the music.
Well, you're gonna hate the Cyberpunk soundtrack. Let me tell you.
I don't like the Cyberpunk soundtrack either. I played it
There you
before. I'm
go.
just like,
There you go.
Alex's hot
I'll put my own
takes.
music. Yeah.
Wow.
I
don't think it's a hot take. It's just I don't like that. I don't like a lot of music, really.
That's a
It's
hot
bad
take right
personal
there.
stuff.
yeah,
That's a
seriously.
spicy take right there.
I'm not saying you guys are wrong. I'm saying I don't like
No,
it.
yeah.
No.
It's welcome to the entire podcast. You have all now
The
met.
whole thing.
Welcome
You
to
have now
whenever
met-
I say anything.
Exactly. the Wyatt versus Brett character arc that never ends.
Aw.
But I like that I complete counterpoint to you, Ryan. I was totally and firmly placed into that Hotline Miami mindset in this game where I just like I was in a voice chat with people while playing with this. I don't think I said anything for like 45 minutes after I got into it because I was just I turned the game up because I did not want to hear them anymore, and I was just like beats pounding in my brain, the chonk of the sledgehammer again from across the room into somebody's skull, and they go ah, and the blood goes everywhere, and you see their skeleton like a Mortal Kombat finisher,
Oh, yeah,
and they
the little
flop on
hand
the ground.
hits.
I just like doing that for like a whole bathroom of people constantly coming out of stalls was awesome. That was amazing. It was so
Also,
cool.
games like this need to have this feature where they save a GIF of your like best moments.
Yes,
And then you can
It's
save
very
it.
cool.
That was so cool because there's so many moments where like, oh, I threw the knife at that guy. I like kicked this guy in the face and he went flying. I punched this guy and he fell back into the bathroom stall where he came in. It was awesome, dude.
I loved throwing knives, and I have not
Yes.
completely upgraded the 3D printing bullet gun yet. I really like the taser thing for it. But then there's also there's like I have to get through a Fight Club circle to get into this one part of the map. And instead of fist fighting this guy who's like almost constantly in the rage state and I can't block well, I just take out the gun with the power shot. And full on Indiana Jones.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Lots of fun moments from it.
Yeah.
So I think Final Fight Star, everyone else thinks this game is trash and I love it. So
Worst game I've ever played, dude.
And my game pick for the next one comes with a little stipulation that we gotta set up a game night for Gang Beasts at some point. So I'm saying please download Gang Beasts if you don't have it already. For some time in like our like a little October Halloween Gamescast thingy where we play it for our adoring viewers, mayhaps. But also, speaking of games that I might like and soundtracks that I definitely won't, I'm taking a big audio risk here on my hand, and I am going to suggest Metal Hellsinger.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
I played the demo and it was so much fun, and then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it past this point, but that was
Well, hey, if Alex didn't make you, I would have made you very soon. So.
There you go.
Because I thought you told me you were gonna pick Metal Hellsinger a couple.
I was going to, but then I was like, I feel like I know why it's not going to pick a horror game. I know I've played all the horror games that are on Game Pass, basically. So what's something kind of adjacent that I haven't played very much of? Weird West. I feel like that was a more Halloween-y thing, just mostly because I know nobody else would pick that game. That's an oddball.
Well, I wouldn't pick it because I did play a good bit of it, but
from seeing what I have seen for Metal Hellsinger, I feel like it's Doom without the Doom bit.
No, it's still got the Doom bit.
Oh, okay.
This game it's very good. Metal Hellsinger is.
I'm glad
really
I suggested it, and I hope I can get past my dislike of heavy metal. If it's very heavy on the
but when heavy metal, when it kicks in and you're doing well and you get the vocals coming in all of a sudden, that's
see. Here's the thing.
I you know what? I can do that as long as it's not screamo. I there's something in my head that does not go well with screamo.
That's the thing, though. For me, because I'm not the biggest heavy metal guy either, but playing the demo of this game made me realize something. I love heavy metal up until the guys start screaming.
Well, because so many of them can't do it well. So many sound like dying like birds or something. And I agree. Only a few people can do that horrible throat growl really, really well, and they're few and far between.
I wish there was more metal mixed with Mongolian throat singing.
Well,
that's what I want.
I could do some Mongolian throat singing in the soundtrack.
But you know what? I loved it when I heard any of the tracks where like the women were singing. I was like, this sounds awesome. Like I love all of this. And then the guys started like screaming their lungs out of their mouth, and I was like, okay, I don't like this anymore.
Stopped enjoying this.
Never mind.
All right.
I also find it adorable, Alex, that you call it screamo and techno. I think that has aged you at least 50 years.
What are they called now?
More specific things than screamo. I think only old people refer to them as that, but I'm really glad that it rubbed off on you because it's really
funny. Okay. Well, with that vicious burn, it's the end of the show. It's time for shoutouts. That's it. We gotta stop. Who's got one loaded up and ready to go?
I will.
Go grab him.
I'm taking him back down. It's little Mr. Gweesy. It's Gweeson. Gundam Gweeson.
Turtle boy.
That I am pronouncing horribly wrong. You say I don't think Gujin feels good in the mouth. I like saying Gweeson.
Gweeson is not any better.
It is not any better. You know what? It's Goo exclamation point from now.
It is Goo exclamation point.
Here we go. Goo exclamation point. The Gundam with objectively what I think is just the best and coolest weapon type in any game that there will ever be. A giant hammer. They're very fun.
Big hammer is a good weapon type. For sure.
Big hammer. Please don't dislocate your wrist.
All right. Who else is ready? Who's got one loaded up?
My shout out, possibly the most obvious one ever, is for Gundam Evolution for being exactly what multiplayer FPSs need right now, which is a good video game that is new and people can play. Oh my god, I've just had so much fun. Even when I am losing, every single night, teaching new people how to play the game, having people be like, "Oh, these things are pretty cool. What series should I start with?" And then me going, "All right, let's break out the list again, boys." I don't know. It's just so much fun. It's free. It hasn't obliterated my wallet with anything predatory yet, and we have an update planned for at least by the time of November 30th, because that's what they said Season 2 is going to come out. So eat that 343 with your half a year update.
My god.
That's at least 3 new characters, which is pretty crazy. If they manage to keep it up.
All right. Wyatt, you want to go or you want me to take it from you?
I do. This is funny because originally my shout out was going to be the fact that they mentioned Korra in Chinatown Detective Agency. And then I realized that I said it during the discussion because I'm an idiot. So that was what I had queued up. And so while you two were talking, I was like freaking out trying to find something else to talk about. And I'm just going to plug the Modern Warfare 2 beta here because Ryan and I have been playing it and it's awesome. And it's been just so much fun. There's a grenade that you can throw into one side of a wall and then it spits the grenade out the other side of the wall. And it's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Man, you can also do it for like ceilings and floors.
Just missed the ability to play a large scale modern military shooter.
Yeah, that's the other thing I was gonna say, Brett. Ground War is so much better. It's so much better. Like the maps are just not. They're not like what's the one with the really tall building with like 17 floors and everything is way too big and it's just ridiculous. It's like tight. It's controlled. There's no, and most importantly, there is no promenade. Most important.
Okay, that is all I need to hear. That is the most important thing.
I was worried that like maybe they would simplify the maps down too much because no one liked the overly complicated like rat maze maps of 2019, and they have been, but I think it's a balance where I'm like fine with it because they still have some pretty big maps, even for like the smaller multiplayer. It's really good. You have the rest of the day to go try it out. Please, it's really, really fun.
Yeah. All right. Got a spicy little shout out here. This
Mini
painted little boy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Look at that spicy Adeptus Mechanicus. Look, I'm ready. The white stuff on the base, I need to cover the rest of it in the snow to also make it look good, because I was just testing it on that base. But it is going to be snow covered when it's done. But man, it's got some good paint colors coming out there. Wasn't a huge fan of it before it dried. Dried super well, so I'm very happy with that. Nice look. And that's the show. We did it. Yay.
You win.
Tuesday morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Time on the podcast platform of your choice. No episode next week. That's the one alert. No episode next week. After that, back to normal. That's it. That's the thing. Those dancing lads. Look at them go.
I have to eat a fruit tart.
Now, who's going to do the backflip first?
Xenogears has to come out again.